Hello and welcome to this special episode of Young and Active. I am Lady Glow and today we're diving into a blazing topic, and that is fire safety. What everyone needs to know. We are here to prepare you with life-saving tips, how to learn how fire starts, how to respond to them, and most especially how to prevent them in our homes, schools, and communities. Joining us to do this discussion is Mr. Malik Bwedu, an assistant station officer who is a well-trained fire service personnel, someone who has seen the up close of fire and has dedicated his life to saving others, one who runs towards danger whilst others run away like myself. So he's here to teach us how to stay safe and alert. And I'm not doing this alone, I'm doing it with my co-host,
Charlie Thursday.
So stay tuned as we dive into practical skills, because what you know about fire safety today can save a life tomorrow. So stay tuned as we get interactive. You're welcome.
Thank you, madam.
Mr. Malik, we're so glad to have you here to discuss about fire safety.
It's been an honor.
We know this is a crucial topic, and I believe you help us to digest in so many topics and challenges that are, bothering us as societies and, as a layman.
It's been an honor to be here today.
Yes. So, Charlie, let's get into our conversation.
We are glad to have you, Mr. Malik. So we're talking about fire outbreak, fire disaster, what everyone needs to know. Okay. So in the first place, what do we term as fire disaster? Somebody is sitting out there, yes, he knows fire outbreak, fire disaster. What do we term as the fire disaster?
All right. Before I talk about what you've just raised, I'll first give a vivid description about fires.
All right.
Now, fires basically is a chemical reaction involving three elements. We have heat, we have fuel, and we have oxygen.
Okay.
So I'll briefly demo here so that we will see how fires come into play.
Okay.
This is matches. As we can all see, we use it in our various homes. Now, when you bring this out, and you take one stick, this is called fuel. In fires, fuel is anything that burns. Anything that can burn is called fuel. And in our environment, we are surrounded with oxygen, right? And then heat. Now, these three elements should come in a proportional state for a fire to occur. When I pick this, and I scratch, I generate heat. This is fuel. Yeah. I generate heat. Around us, we have the oxygen and there will be fire. So when I scratch it like this, there is fire.
Okay.
There's heat, there's fuel, and then there's the fire comes.
Right.
And so the result of fire, we have light, we have smoke. That's the end product of fires. We have light, we have smoke. These are all the byproducts of fire. Now, let's look at fire disaster.
Okay.
Now, fire disaster is a sudden or unexpected occurrence of an event or a situation which can either be man-made or a natural occurrence that can cause destruction of properties or loss of life relative to anything regarding fires. So anything, it can be in a form of man-made or it can be natural. And then it normally occurs unexpected, destroying human lives and then properties as well.
Right.
Thank you.
So like you're talking about, it can either be man-made or natural. Can you then take us through the classifications of fire disaster?
Okay, so we have about 4 or 5 classifications of fires.
Okay.
But in our jurisdiction, the one that we are very common is the A and B. We have the A fires, we have the B fires, we have the C, D, we also even have the K.
Alphabetical fires.
Yeah, that's the alphabetical one.
All right.
That's nice.
And so the A fires are the solid combustible materials. So this one is a piece of wood, very tiny one. This is a class A fires. Now, the class A fires, they easily burn, right? And then we should take note that whenever we say solid combustible, any combustible materials is anything that burns. So when you say solid materials, a stone is a solid material, but a stone cannot burn. It should be a combustible material.
Like paper,
wood, even human being, your hair, they are all class A fires. But they are solid combustible materials. They easily burn. And most of the ones that we experience with fire service are mostly the class A fires. We also have the class B ones. That's the flammable liquids. The flammable liquids we can have of the petrol, we can have of the diesel, and so on and so forth. Those ones are the class B fires. Now, in some books, they can term class C fires as electrical fires. Some also term class C fires as gaseous fires. All right, depending on wherever you stand. Now, so for the gaseous ones, the one that is commonly experienced is the LP gas, the one that we normally use for
the
cooking.
gas cylinder.
The gas cylinder, the one that we normally use in our various homes. In some books, they also classify the C ones as the electrical one, the electrical fires. And then take note that every class of fire has a way that we handle them. Every class. So the extinction process for every class, there are variations to it.
Okay.
So you can apply a class B fires procedure for a class A fire procedure. So per our discussion today, we'll lay much emphasis on these three, and then we'll delve deeper. Thank you.
Well, you said something that got me very interested when you were making the fire. You said that it is the heat with the fuel, the heat and the oxygen.
Okay.
So the heat and the fuel sparks the fire, and the oxygen holds it.
The oxygen holds it, yes.
Great. So does that mean that if everywhere that sparks fire, like, I mean, if you do this right now and you place it anywhere and there's oxygen in there, it would burn as much as it could. So what can, yes, I know we are diving into that place, but what can we do? Is there any process that maybe when you see that fire, you can stop oxygen from entering that fire to help it not blow up? That yes.
So just as I said, there are three elements.
Okay.
When you take one out, the fire goes off.
Okay.
Right. So let's take, for instance, okay, if I light a fire and then I try to conceal it, or I try to, let's say someone who has been engulfed in flames, and the person is running at a very fast pace. Because the person is running, it attracts more oxygen, and then there'll be more, the burning will be more. So in this case, the person lies and rolls. When you lie and you roll, you break down the oxygen. It's the same way for your cylinder, the one that we use for cooking in our various homes. If you realize that it's in flames, maybe there's a leakage and it's in flames, right? You use the juice sack, you moist it or you wet it, and then you exert pressure. And then at where the seat of the fire, when you exert pressure, you have cut down the oxygen. Anytime you cut down the oxygen, you have taken the fire off. It's the same way for fuel. Whenever you take the burning thing out, like in our home, in our villages, when we use the traditional the three clay thing that we normally use in our various homes. After cooking, sometimes they pour water. Sometimes they get the firewood out. When you get the firewood out, you are also getting or cutting down the fire to continue. So when you get the firewood becomes the fuel, the burning activity. When it gets it out, the fire goes off. We can also use the cooling method. And the cooling method is the one that we normally use. Even in fire service, that's what we generally use. The cooling method is the use of water. That's what we all normally use.
Yeah.
That one, when there's fire, you pour water on it and it goes off. But bear in mind, cooling method is mostly used for class A fires or fires involving solid combustible materials.
So with this, like there's a saying that when there is a fire outbreak and you start pouring water, you can even worsen the situation. If there is a fire outbreak, you better call the fire service. Don't just pour water, because water has some oxygen in it. So the more you're trying to pour the water, the more you even worsen the case. So how does pouring water, relate with the cooling method you were talking about?
So the cooling method, sometimes fire service will get to a scene. And when they get to a scene, they do what is called assessment. They analyze the situation on the ground. Bear in mind that there are some fires that involve electricity. Right? When there is a household that is in flames, there is a kind of electricity in the house. You can't just go out there and then pour water on the burning house or whatever is burning. The reason being so is that water is a good conductor of heat and electricity. So therefore, when you pour water, the tendency for it to keep on burning, it goes high.
Okay.
So in that case, when you get there, you cut down the main power. You look out for the power supply.
The main switch.
The main switch, you get it off. When you get it off, it becomes a normal fire. Then you apply the cooling process with the use of water. So you just then go there and you pour water on the building.
So with this, I think the public needs to be educated on some things, because some fires are basic, but it tends up to become huge because they don't know how to off it. They use their own ways they think is right.
Okay.
Because of late, there are a lot of people burning, houses burning. There are a lot of things going on here that this one is dead. I don't know what exactly it is, what causes that fire, but I feel if they knew some precautionary measures, they would have taken it. So let's say you are in a room.
Okay.
And it sparks fire. Smoke all over and everything. What do you do? How do you escape? Like, is there any way you can, precautionary measure you can take instantly to avoid it getting out of hand, or trying to get out of the room before the fire gets out of hand? Is there any, or if there are any precautionary little measures that each and everyone should know?
All right. When you are dealing with issues of fire related, the primary or the key thing to look out for is human life. Once you are trapped in a confined area, what you have to try to do is to escape. So when you are engulfed and there's a thick smoke all over, you don't stand and start screaming for help. Right? So it is believed that whenever there's a thick smoke, the thick smoke is up, or the toxic gases are up, and the cool air or the fresh air is down. So at that point, you crawl. We believe that once you are in a room, a place that you've occupied for years, you can know your exit and entry points. Yes. So you crawl like a baby. Then perhaps your fist. You hold it this way, then you crawl. The reason why we crawl is that you can be able to get some fresh air down, and then you can at least sustain yourself for a while before you are getting.
I'm not cutting you. What you're saying. What if the spark is from the, let's say there's an extension board down there which are stripped, and it sparked that fire. So the smoke is coming from, like, it's coming from the ground where you are trying to dodge. To crawl. How would you escape that?
Okay, so mostly what I advise that you hold your fist this way. We believe that when you're electrocuted behind your palm, the gravity is a little less than within, the intensity more than within your palm or in your palm. So that's what you do, right? But make sure that you don't try to remove your clothing, and if you can have access to any clothing, you put it on. At least it can insulate the gravity of any electrical distance. Then you crawl gradually. Don't open your palm. Perhaps because there's fire, there has been the wearing off of some electrical wires, or some may be naked, and then you may get in contact and you'll be electrocuted. So you crawl like that directly towards your main entrance. Then you find your way out. That is what you do. You don't stand. When you stand, your chances of death is very eminent.
So you have to crawl and get out of the room.
Get out from the room.
You have to consider your life first.
Your life
Don't think
is...
about your phone, your certificates,
Yeah.
your money, and those kind of things.
You-
But you know, like some people are.
Your phone.
Your life is very, very important than any other thing. Let's bear in mind that when fire service comes to your aid, sometimes they delay a little. And people are of the view that they are not doing anything. What are they doing?
Yeah.
The incident commander or the one in charge is supposed to do an assessment of the place. After the assessment, quickly, you ask for any trapped victim, because we always ensure that the safety of every human is very paramount than any other thing.
Exactly.
So when we are able to identify, oh, there's someone trapped, that becomes our primary target.
Right.
We embark on the rescue, get the person out, then we start with the firefighting process. Right?
I think a lot of people are dying because of panic.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I believe you see a fire out, like a fire gush out of your room or whatever it is, and out of panic, it's normal. You are putting something and it sparks fire. You run and leave it.
You run.
So I believe that people out there should be taught not to panic when they see fire.
Okay.
Yes, in stuff like this.
Yeah.
But putting panic aside, I know it's part of the whole thing,
Okay.
but we're talking about our normal, lives as Ghanaians or lay persons. Gas cylinders, they are normally placed in the rooms. Very few of them are placed outside.
Outside the kitchen, sure.
Very few of them. And me, when I was growing up, I saw some. We put racks around it. We put moist racks around it. Then we put stones on it. We know that is our own traditional way of, preventing fire outbreak or maybe a leak or something. But is that the right way?
Okay, so what you ask yourself is, why will you put a stone on something? The fact that you are putting a stone on it means that you have been pre-informed that there's a leakage somewhere.
Right.
Any household you visit and there is a stone, there are tables or chairs that they've packed on the regulator. Yeah. It means that the person is aware that something is wrong.
Yeah.
But he will what? Neglect that kind of responsibility.
Yeah, because sometimes you perceive it like,
when
there's a leakage. Then you're like, oh, go and find a stone, come and put it on it.
Because your children.
Funny enough, when they don't say that it's going to cause fire. They say, oh, the gas is, in fact, it's draining away the gas.
Or it's coming from a nearby household.
Yeah.
They know the right thing, but you pretend. When you do that, that's neglection.
So what should have been done instead of the stone?
So most of the times, the reason why sometimes there are leakages, there's a seal within your cylinder.
Is it a tube?
It's a tube.
There's a black,
black this thing. So after a while, sometimes when you use it, when you submerge or press the regulator on it, you realize that still there are leakages. When that happens, if you know of any fire officer, you quickly call him or her to come and then advise you on what to do. Or then you go to your gas station and then you change the seal. Okay. When you change the seal and it's still not, you still realize that there's a leakage, you have to change the regulator. If still it is giving you the problem, then you have to get rid of everything because your life is very key, right? But in the case that you go, let's say, you go to town and you come home, you realize that your cylinder is in flames. There's a leakage and there are flames. So the first thing you do, you look for a jute sack. Maybe if you have a towel, you can wet it, right? Then after you've wet it, you hold it. Firefighting, you have to be courageous. You don't fight fire with fear. No. Then you submerge it or you suppress everything on the cylinder. Once you do that, you cut oxygen. When you cut oxygen, everything goes off. Let me relate it to a room that has been in flames. You come from town and you realize that your room, there's a thick smoke, but maybe it is trying to find its way out of the building. please, we don't just open the door and try to make an entry or try to enter. When you do that, you will have a background, and there will be a sort of oxygen coming in contact with the fire, because at that point the fire is confined.
Right.
It is confined. It wants a place to express itself.
Sure.
So once you open it at once, there will be this kind of oxygen, and it will be home like that on you, and then you may die. So you open it gradually. The extent of which the oxygen will get in wouldn't be much. Then you look for the seat of the fire. That is why it is always important to have a fire extinguisher. When you're able to open gradually and you are able to locate the position or where the fire itself is emanating from, you target the seat, you move the pin, and then you aim at the seat, and then you are able to extinguish it. You go in there and you realize that you were trying to do that, and unfortunately, fire has come in contact with your outfit. Eradimewu, what am I doing? I'm dying.
You even leave the extinguisher.
You leave the extinguisher and you're running away.
You throw it away.
Now, remember that when you are running, you are getting in more oxygen on your body, right? And so the rate at which you will burn will be very high, because you are a class A, you are a fuel. Remember, at the beginning of our discussion, you are a class A solid material, so you will burn quick.
That has come into contact with heat.
And it's running. And the oxygen. So there will be more fire. And so you just die. You just fall down and then you die. You may burn, and then at a point you die. So you lie and then you roll. You roll. Yes, you roll on the floor. When you roll, you break down the oxygen. Later, you get to an assistant to any health facility for.
But I think it's quite unfortunate that most of us don't even have fire extinguishers in our homes, schools, and workplace, and even in our communities. Right? Yeah, that's quite unfortunate. We don't even know how to go about it. Like we don't know how to.
There are a lot of fire extinguishers in companies and institutions that it's just there for
decoration.
Maybe I would say decoration, or for maybe personnel will come and check, okay, do you have the inspect? It's just for that. A lot of people have fire extinguishers in their cars and they don't even know how to use it.
Exactly.
So it's like that. So I believe that we have to do more education on how to use the fire extinguishers as well. But talking about gas, the reason why I'm very particular about gas is one of the things, aside electricity, that we have in our homes, and a lot of people use that. Here in Ghana, gas everywhere. In every home there is gas. And most of it causes fire. Fire outbreaks, most of them gas or electricity. What is your take on gas being put inside the kitchen? What's your take on in the kitchen and outside the kitchen, or in the room or outside the room? What's your take on that? Whether the cylinder should be put inside or outside, or
probably what is the best position of the cylinder?
What's the best position of that?
I'll address that. But before I go into it, now we should always bear in mind that the fire service, our core mandate is to prevent and manage undesired fires, thereby reducing the risk of loss of lives and properties. Now, the first one, the key word here is prevent. Then you manage. Now, so the prevention aspect is the proactive activities, just as what you cited. What do we do? And the management aspect is the reactive, when it has happened, what we are doing to curtail or bring down. Now, so one thing that you have to do to prevent anything relative to the question that you ask. Now, the cylinder, and then there's a fire, and they are all confined in a small kitchen. There's fire, and then there's a cylinder. Remember, with a cylinder is LP gas. Now, the content, when it is in, it is liquid in state. When it gets out, it becomes gas. It forms part of the air, right? So, perhaps you are cooking. All of a sudden, there's a leakage. You are not aware. You are ignorant about it. Once there's a leakage, and you are still cooking, there could be an explosion. So it is always advisable that you get your cylinder out. You can create a small hole through the building. you get if you want to prevent thieves, you get your burglar proof, and then
lock it.
You lock it nicely. You create a shade to prevent water from getting in touch with the cylinder. Then you do it. That is the best approach. Remember, it is also related to the sockets and the plugs that we use in our various homes. We use our gadgets every now and then. When you are going to town, we just leave everything. The best approach, when you switch it off, you get it out. Unless maybe you have a stabilizer or something that can secure it to an extent. So your cylinder issue, the best one is to get it out from the kitchen, create a small hole, get it out, and then lay the hose through there.
But like I was saying, you know, our building system here in Ghana, there are a lot of times our systems, like the way our houses are built, you wouldn't get that luxury to put it outside. Sometimes even outside there's no space. You understand? And some of the kitchens they don't even have windows and everything. So how do you even go about that in the first place? Because it worries. Some of the houses you would stay, you realize that it won't work. So you just have to keep it inside. Especially if the person is using that one burner cylinder, like
the gas stove.
The gas stove, the one that has everything together. How will the person keep it outside?
Some even added to their store, like they will have a small portion at
their storeroom. They'll pack everything.
Exactly. So that they'll be cooking.
Is it advisable? Like you're saying, the best way is to keep it outside. But is there any way we can manage it inside? Since we don't have any option. let's put it like that. We don't have an option because our system, the buildings in Ghana, mostly the compound houses and stuff like that, mostly like that. Is there any way we can manage it like you're saying?
There's nothing like you trying to gamble with your life. That is what I will say for. There's nothing that supersedes human life. And there are things that when you do yourself, you are aware that this thing hold. Now, how do you manage it? For me, the only thing I'll tell you is seek for the counsel of a fire officer, a trained officer, to come and guide you how to position and do your things. Like in a worst case scenario, that is what you should do. But apart from that, the best option is what I have given. Get your cylinder, your regulator, everything separated from each. But maybe because times are hard, and all that, I wouldn't advise that you do that because your life is more.
Your life is more important, and I love that word you have spoken. That is perfect. You can't gamble your life with anything.
So, but you're going to call an officer. It's going to be dragged. Okay, fine. So in this case, if you want to keep it in there, when an officer gets there, he will be able to analyze on how to keep it or manage so that it wouldn't cause fire.
He will give you advice, and of course, the best advice is what I'll give it. I don't know the kind of management system that you want to put in place for a cylinder and a burner in a confined place.
Then is disobedient. Don't mind them.
Then you should be ready to bear the risk.
Exactly.
Then our houses have not been built well because...
Yes. I'll take this opportunity to advise that, we have 7 core functions of the service, apart from the key one. We also offer technical services on building plans. It is always advisable that before you construct a building, you go to the nearest fire station. After they have drawn your plan, show it to them. This is the plan. This is it. They will advise you. You have to create this here. Put this number of extinguishers here. This will be on your escape route. No, let the draftsmanship change these locations for you. You see, but most of times,
I've not heard that before.
Yes, but most of the times we neglect all that. And we do that to our peril.
I don't even know.
I'm
just hearing it.
Yes, because most building plans, they are not.
We don't add any fire service personnel to it. Like we just get a.
But that is great. I think we are more concerned of security more than that of fire.
Yeah, it's true. That's the unfortunate thing. We pay much attention to security and we neglect safety.
So talking about we neglecting safety, I don't know whether we were discussing it behind cameras when you were saying that most of the fires start up when people are not in the house, or fires mostly sparked in communities during weekends.
Yes.
So how can you identify that a potential fire is about to occur?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I delve into it, I'll also address some key points that we also have to do apart from the potential one. In most households, people resort to the use of candles and coils, the mosquito coils.
Okay.
And that has also been one of the major contributory factor when it comes to fires and fire outbreaks. So I'll advise that whenever you are using any of such items, don't get it closer to anything that can burn. It should not get to anything that can burn, right? And then our extension boards too, we should limit the way we load them. Because even for human beings, if you are loaded with pressure at a point, you give up.
Exactly.
Your mom calls you, your dad calls you, this one calls you. I'm tired.
If they have given 5 pots on it, and I have 5 equipment or appliances I can use on it, why don't I use it? Because
it's not advisable that you use all of them at once.
Okay.
It does not mean you should use all of them at once.
So let me pick it this way. I'm coming. For you to know that there is going to be or there might be a potential fire outbreak in your home.
Okay.
That is when you're using candle, coil,
or overloading of
sockets.
Sockets. Sometimes too, some people do, they will do wiring or the extension board. They will put, some use this woolen carpets.
Yeah.
And then you see that the wire is under the carpet.
Exactly.
Now, forgetting that, the more you step on it, you are creating what is called resistance.
Okay.
The opposition of the flow of the current. You are creating resistance. At a point, it will start to create some kind of sparks within. You gradually, you will not see it. Gradually. Before you realize, then there's fire.
Okay.
That's it. So we have to avoid that. We also have to, just as you said about the cylinder thing, it is advisable that you separate both. Don't get all of them in a confined place.
Exactly.
You don't do that. And then I think you have to get your extinguisher too. It's very, very important.
So those are the preventive measures. Getting your fire extinguisher.
Getting your fire extinguishers.
And then positioning your gas cylinder at the right place.
At the right place.
And then not overloading your sockets. And not bringing closer any foreign material closer to your candles and your coils.
And all that. And I'll also advise that every community that you stay, there's a nearest fire station. Every community.
You don't even know their call line.
Very good. So I'll advise that it is our responsibility. Safety is a collective responsibility. It's not a one-off event. And then fire service cannot do it alone. And the citizens can also not do it alone. So let's say, unfortunately, there hasn't been any education on your end. You can visit the nearest fire station, get their number, and then keep it on your phone.
Okay.
Right.
But we have an emergency fire service
We
number,
have a general one, which
192.
We 192 and 112. That's a toll free. We have the one. I'll put that one out there before the end of this submission.
Okay.
That one, when you call, that's a fire master control. It goes to the head office. Then they redirect the call to your place or wherever there's a fire. But I'll advise that we all should make it a point to get to the nearest fire station.
Okay.
Get their number, keep it on your phone. Perhaps you may not be the victim. Your nearest neighbor will be a victim. There are also, just as the question you said, there are some signs or signals that can help you know that, my friend here, if I don't take care, there could be a possible fire outbreak. Sometimes you are in a room, you can feel an unusual heat. Once you stayed in a room, you should know the room temperature. You should know. Sometimes you feel like there's an unusual heat. Now the place is becoming hot. It's too hot. What is happening? Perhaps there could be some kind of fire that has been triggered out there. So you have to be curious about it. You shouldn't take it for granted that, it's a normal thing. There's nothing like normal thing when your life is at risk. right? Sometimes too, you can hear of a spark. You hear something, unusual kind of sparks. When you hear that, don't take it for granted, right? You have to also get to try and then fish out where that kind of spark is coming from. And sometimes too, you'll be in a room and you hear of an unusual the smell, like something is very burning. Bad. Yeah, something is burning. Sometimes, yes, that one too, you need not to take it for granted. You have to also get closer to it and then find out what could be the possible cause. In all these, apart from the extinguisher, take note. There's something called smoke detectors, also very, very important. If we are able to position some in our kitchens, in our halls, it uses battery, and then it can also alert us.
It uses battery?
Yes, and it's changeable. I think it's every 6 months or every year. Yeah, you can change it. So you fix it. When there's a thick smoke and maybe you are not even around, it will just give you, it will blow a siren. There will be an alarm, and then it can also draw your attention. So these are some of the possible things that I think.
Wow, that was so insightful. I believe viewers are listening, taking notes, and learning some 1 or 2 tips about fire safety. Myself, I didn't know so many things. I'm just hearing it today. But then probably someone will be watching and be like, if you've had a fire service personnel, I would want you to ask this question. There are times where there is a fire outbreak and we've called 192. I believe you have heard the saying, this allegation, maybe it's a false allegation, but you have to clarify. It's that sometimes when you call the fire station, whenever there is a fire outbreak, they get there without water in the tank. And sometimes too, you see them there not doing anything whilst the place keep burning. Please, what do you have to say about that? Yes, how true is that?
Okay, so that has been a misconception that has run through the minds of so many people. Now, the appliance that we use, the fire engine that we use, that help us to fight the fire, we should bear in mind that it is a machine.
Okay.
Now, once it's a machine, you can't guarantee its effectiveness 100%. So every machine can go down at any point in time. Even our vehicles that we use in our various homes, sometimes it breaks down when we least expect. So that is one thing that we have to bear in mind with. When the engine gets to the scene, now the water that we is supposed to come out for it to help in the firefighting process, it is supported by a pump, a centrifugal pump, a pump that is part of the whole engine, right? It is the pump that will bring the water out with force, so that we will be able to do the firefighting. So sometimes you can engage the pump to a point and it can go down. It's a machine. So when it goes down, the water cannot come out anymore. So when it happens like that, people are of the view that there's shortage of water, which doesn't really happen.
But rather it's the pump.
Yes, it's the pump. All the time there's water in the tank, even when it is out of commission. When the engine is not in commission, means it is faulty at a point and it's at our station. There is water all the time. There is water because that's one of the medium that help us to fight. Now we get to the scene and then people will say, what are they doing? The fire is burning. Fire service, do something. What are we doing? You can't get to your scene as a commander, as an incident commander, and just start fighting fire. It is never done.
Okay.
Bear in mind that we fighting the fire, the officer's survival is the key. You can't deploy your men to a fire scene, going to assist someone who is in danger, and then you end up losing more lives.
Right.
No. So you get there and you do a quick assessment, right? In everything that we do in life, we plan. If you don't plan, then you end up failing at the end. So you get there, you do assessment. Okay, so there's power here. Okay, where's your kitchen? Do you have gas there? Is someone trapped there? These are things that the incident commander or the one in charge will do a quick assessment and brief his men. You stand here, lay 2 hoses. This one stand here. Number 2, engage the pump. So it is a systematic process. It's not like you getting to the scene and pouring water on it.
You escalate the fire.
No. Else there may be there's electricity all over. There's power. The officer has to ensure that power is interrupted. Getting the main switch off, or in the worst case scenario, you call the ECG, disconnect that area, then it becomes a normal fire. Then you fight.
So you've introduced ECG, which means at any fire outbreak, ECG also can play a role.
They can.
Okay.
It's not all situations.
Can. Yes.
When it's very extreme,
right,
we can call our stakeholders.
Right.
We can rely on them for them to just disconnect the place that's serious fire. Then we can have the peace of mind to also fight the fire. Moreover, some people say, "Oh, I called them and they delayed. You are not coming. Fire service, what are you doing? We called you." Now, the challenges. Now, remember, fire service will receive a lot of prank calls. That prank calls, people call us trying to make fun of us, saying a whole lot of misleading information.
Wow.
Sometimes you have to move the appliance, get there, and there is nothing there. That is one of the challenges. Secondly, people also do not call the nearest fire station. They end up calling the toll-free. That's the 192-112. That one, it goes to the Fire Master Control head office. Then the call is rechanneled to the nearest fire station before the appliance is deployed to come to your assistance. Poor road network, also another challenge. Some of the places that we visit, access to the place is also a challenge. And the person who is calling is also sometimes giving a wrong direction. All these are challenges that we have to navigate through to assist someone who is challenged.
But we unfortunately don't look at all these things.
Yes.
The road, the wrong direction.
A layman who has seen a fire burning is always looking for a way out.
Exactly.
So, and those standing afar won't understand, and they just make their own assessment.
Exactly.
But my very last question, what you were saying that your machines sometimes fail, like we all know it's machines, even human beings sometimes you break down. Is there any other medium or a plan B when it happens that way, that you get there and the machine breaks down or the machine fails? Is there any other medium you find in fighting the fire? Is there any other option?
All right. So another option, if the machine fails, the first appliance that gets to the scene is called a base pump. We will relay to the FMC or the head office that, oh, this appliance, unfortunately, we got there, is broken down. Make available pump 2. When you say make available pump 2, then that means they have to dispatch another appliance to the scene quickly. Whilst we try to manage the situation, looking for a nearby water, calling for the communities, guiding them, assisting us in trying to maintain it whilst another appliance comes in.
Okay.
Yes. But unfortunately, when that happens, we are just attacked. Because the civilians don't really understand what is going on. There's no water. You drive all the way, come here, and there's no water. But unfortunately, it happens sometimes.
The civilians have to understand that it's work and you cannot do it anyhow. They can't just they are using machines. They can't just get there and do whatever they at first. In fact, I also used to, I'll backlash them and stuff like that. But from what you were saying, I've come to realize that when you get there, if you are out there, you're watching, when they get there, there are a lot of things they have to do, like you were saying, assessment and everything. They can't just get there and start pouring water, doing this, doing that. No, and sometimes when their machine, goes off, you should know that it's not water that is finished. It's a faulty pump.
Exactly.
And like you say, it's a machine. And before you call other pumps to come in, delays, road network, like you're saying, and other stuff. Sometimes even our own core networks, sometimes become a problem. So we just have to understand that there are some things that are way out of hand that we'll try to find a way around.
And it's a collective effort too. Your roads need to be fixed. Layman has to be educated. You have to know where to call, not just the headquarters, prank calling and all those things. all these things have to be put in place
Yes,
before
prank calls have to stop.
the whole thing is going to work. So, Mr. Malik, whether prank calling you were talking about, that people call just to joke about things, and definitely we might mistaken the serious ones for a prank call. What are some fines that are put in place for these prank callers?
Okay, so mostly those that do the prank calls, we are able to fish out. We do a follow-up. We're able to do a follow-up, and then we're able to get them. Unfortunately, you can't get them all. But whoever we get, we make sure that the law takes its course.
Exactly.
We punish the person accordingly.
Yeah.
We hand over the situation to the police to take over.
Right.
Because it's a serious offense.
Sure.
Once you effect a prank call and the vehicle moves, remember, the vehicle moves with human resource, with fuel, the risk aspects, all these things comes in.
Yeah.
All at the expense of the taxpayer. So when you do that, it becomes a very serious thing that you have really put the fire officers into. So there are situations that when people are got relative to issues like that, they are really punished and handed over to them.
They should be punished.
I
the
think
law
they should
Yes.
be brought out there to be used
take
as
its
scapegoats,
course.
so
Yeah.
that because maybe a lot of
It's-
people have not seen them, like they've not seen people caught in the act before.
Exactly.
Like, okay, someone did a prank call to the fire service and has been caught, is being fined this,
Yeah.
you know,
So let
that
me
kind of
stop
thing.
mine.
Yes, so let me stop what I'm doing. Because it's not shown out there,
Okay.
they don't see any, you know, they don't see it as a big deal.
Exactly.
But I feel if you get hold of someone
Yeah.
doing that and, you
Bring
know,
them to public.
yes,
place.
it's used as
Punish
a
them.
as a scapegoat. I think, or let them pay for what they did, or give them a fine, a boat, that kind of a
Next
thing.
time, don't
Okay.
do that again.
We are hoping that we'll get there.
Yeah,
But
so I
anyone
think-
who is caught is really going to be punished
You're right.
severely.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I'm going to make a passionate appeal to
Okay.
all.
Yeah.
Now, fire service is all over the country. The fire service doesn't work in isolation. A head office is there, but every district has a fire station.
okay.
Even though we have the toll free, that's 192 112 and the 030, those ones you can call and they will come and then assist you. But if you want it quick, please visit the nearest fire station. Get their number. If you need an extinguisher, get them. They are trained to handle situation like, let them advise you on the kind of extinguishers that you are supposed to use and all that. Get them. When you get the nearest fire station number, you are more secured, because when you call the toll free, it goes to Accra, the process,
They redirect it to you.
they redirect, and it takes quite some
Quite
time.
some time.
Fire doesn't take time.
Exactly.
Right? It goes through ignition, growth stage, fully developed before you realize out of hand. You can't do anything. Once every minute counts, every second counts with fire incident. So please let us all get to the nearest fire station, get their numbers, get educated, get well informed. Remember, this is a collective responsibility. If Muhammad doesn't go to the mountain should also go to Muhammad. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you too for coming, Mr. Malik. We so much appreciate
Wow.
your time and your knowledge
Yes.
and your skills and your tips, like everything. We are
It
so
was
much.
awesome. And I believe you out there have also been educated. And now you know that it's not just the responsibility of the fire service only, but it's rather a collective responsibility. Let's all put our heads together so that we could stop fire outbreaks in the country, because it's becoming too much. It's getting out of hand. I know that you have learned, and I know that from today you will do what is right and to avoid fire outbreaks and fire disasters. I know you enjoyed today's episode. Yes, I know you've had a nice time with myself and my sister here, Lady Glow.
Yeah, so Mr. Malik, this episode was so insightful.
Yeah.
I believe there are a series of, topics
Yes.
in here, and we
Definitely.
would want you to come on board the next time so that we will delve into deeper topics about fire safety and all that. We need it. And so thank you so much for coming. And Charlie Thursday, we have done a great
you.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, so please do all to follow us on all our social media handles at ADZoone TV. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the notification bell so that anytime we upload a new video, you can be notified. Thank you for joining us. We'll come your way some other time. Until then, it's a bye for now.